because, what's alive with Charlotte unless there's chaos? I mean, seriously.
I mean, literally, that's what I just said to my brother. He was like, "Oh, we can wait till after." And I was like, "Look, people won't be surprised if I'm trying to jumpstart a car during this stream." Of all things, yeah.
Well, we are live. We'll just chat for a little while and wait to see if anyone actually gets any notifications.
I think I put it in Discord, but
yeah,
that was a few hours ago, so some people won't have woken up yet.
Yes, that's all good. That's all good. We can always just have a good chat for those that come by later and watch the replay anyway. So
yeah, and they do. That I got like a miniature essay in comments on the Broken Angels stream a few weeks ago.
What about us whinging about how bad it is?
Yeah, well, no, it was actually really in-depth sort of analysis of the book as well. Like, oh, this is a great chat sort of thing. You missed this one thing or whatever. And I think it was not so much that we missed it. It was just that it was so lightly in the start of the book that it was very easy to sort of skim over. It wasn't put in depth enough because it was the Queller at the start.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The tiny little detail about the Queller's thing at the start that you're meant to pick up on, and it's meant to like make sense at the end.
Make the book make sense, but
see, to be honest, though, I was just so disappointed in the fact that I used to love that book, and then when I went back and reread it, I was just so disappointed in it. I didn't care.
There's a cat. I'm trying to get the cat over. Sugar, stop rubbing on my bag and come give me.
We might have visitors because we've got the heater on. So yeah, we might get visitors coming and chat and hanging out with us. Yeah. So for those of you, this is welcome to my channel. I'm Renee. This is Charlotte. This is the Knitting Book Club, and this is officially the year anniversary. Isn't it?
It is.
We did start doing this because the intent was to get Charlotte to continue knitting her jumper, which is probably left at another house.
Yeah, it's at my house in Oakley, and I am not there. I could have brought knitting needles with me tonight, but I couldn't be bothered, so I just figured I would draw something or do something like that.
I was actually thinking about that the other day. Maybe we should just call it the Making Book Club or the Makers Book Club. Hello, Arwen.
Chaos Club. I mean, so far
with craftiness.
Yeah. Chaos and
cat starfishes. Are you comfy, Arwen?
So far, I've had goats licking me, cars breaking down, random other stuff.
Yes. Well, also too though,
turns at me at some point.
Yeah. Well, also too, I'm not trying to be more professional by actually having a green screen and my microphone working. Is that we've actually moved the study. We are now officially in the brick cave.
Yeah.
And behind this green screen is a pigsty. So
it's not the professional setup, it's that you needed to hide the mess.
Yes. So I will eventually do a new office tour.
That's why I vlog at angles like this where you can't see the floor.
Yeah, I will eventually do a new office tour. Now I know I've sent you a couple of photos, so you've seen it.
If I'm vlogging like this, it means the room I'm in is an absolute pigsty.
Owen. She just wants to show everyone the starfish.
Yeah. I don't know where Sugar went. She ran away. She's in the bedroom.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Okay.
No, I'm on hotspot at the moment. I just got a notification that someone called Renee went live. Oh, my gosh. How rude.
Sheesh. How rude. Well, God, that took a while for the notification to go out. Nearly 5 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know if I had clicked remind me or not.
Oh, okay.
I think I did.
So it might just be YouTube going, you might be interested.
Well, not usually gives notifications if you're subscribed and have them turned on, which I think I do for you. And I think I must have, because I got a live in 30 minutes notification.
Yeah, so you have notifications active for me, because I get that for you and Emmy. Yeah, but no, that's all good. That is all good. Now we'll get stuck into the book. We're talking about After Dark by, I'm sorry, I can never say his name. Haruki Murakami.
Haruki Murakami. I only know that. I'm basing it off whatever Kate said in her "I Tried Writing Like" video.
Yeah. Oh, has she done one of him? Has she?
She has. Yeah, she got up at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Because I've got his sort of little, what is it? It's like a not quite an autobiography, like a memoir-y sort of thing called what I talk about when I talk about running. And he goes on about his writing, sort of because he used to own a nightclub, and he used to like write during the day and run the nightclub all night. I don't know when this man ever slept.
Oh, yeah, true. It from was 3 a.m. to 4 a.m.
Yeah, pretty much. But so it's After Dark. I actually got the plot summary up. Shall I read it out? Shall we try to be semi-professional in our 1 year anniversary episode?
Yes, and I actually have a succinct, I guess my 5-word review or something, 1-sentence review, or like summary, I guess, of what it's like as well.
Well, this book is completely different to anything else we've ever read up to now. Completely different. So this is the one from Wikipedia. So I'm reading out the Wikipedia summary here.
Deciding to make a cup of tea.
Yep, you go for the cup of tea. Set in metropolitan Tokyo over the course of one night, characters include Mari Asai, a 19-year-old student who's spending the night reading in Denny's. There she meets Takahashi Tetsuya, a trombone-playing student who loves Curtis Fuller's 5-spot After Dark song on Bluesette. Takahashi knows Mari's sister Eri, who he was once interested in, and insists that the group of them have hung out before, and Renee cannot speak. Meanwhile, Eri is in a deep sleep next to a television and seems to be haunted by a menacing figure. Mari crosses paths with a retired female wrestler, Karu, now working as a manager in a love hotel called Alphaville. Karu needs Mari to talk to a Chinese prostitute who has been beaten in the love hotel by an office worker, Shirokara. The group then tries to track down Shirokara and includes Chinese mafia group that owns the prostitute. And my husband is sitting there in the corner giggling because he's going, "You read this?" In Love Hotel, Mari also hears stories from some of the staff working there and takes a glance at the other world hidden below the one we are aware of. Parts of the story take place in a world between reality and dream, and each chapter begins, this is if you've reading it, I listened to the audiobook. Each chapter begins with an image of a clock depicting the passage of time throughout the night. So it's actually all based on one night.
Yes.
I think it's from about 7 p.m. through to 7 a.m.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Don't mind me while I'm just raiding the tea collection.
Yes.
My analysis, I guess you could call it, of the book is it's a mixture between sort of sinister and whimsical.
Yes. You could read it with a very sinister edge, or you could read it with a very whimsical intent.
Yeah, it's like whimsical, but with like a sort of thriller undertone.
Yeah. So okay. First impressions. This is now. I love this book. I listen to this audio probably 3 or 4 times a year. So I'm biased. Yeah. Charlotte, did you like this book?
I enjoyed it. It was whimsical.
Different.
It was whimsical. I really enjoyed the descriptions. The descriptions were really nice. And it's coming into direct contrast with the only other thing that I was reading at the time is my own book. And I was getting so fucking sick of seeing, like, it's really funny rereading first drafts for the first time.
We've lost the show.
Oh no. I think I'm still here. You've frozen for me though, so it could be me. If it is,
I think I've frozen.
Yeah, I think you did. It's so funny reading through your own books and seeing the ticks that you didn't know you had. Because
You there?
I'm here. I don't know if you're there. Can you hear me?
No, we're good. We're good.
Good?
Yep. Yeah, I can hear you fine. Your video had frozen for me, but I don't know if that was my end or your end.
Well, your video froze for me, so it's anyone's guess.
So you're saying the only comparison you had was your story at the time.
Was my story, and it's so weird because you see all of the descriptive ticks that you have. And it got to the end of the book, and I found another one, and my note to myself on the side of the book is just like, for fuck's sake, choose something else, anything else to describe in this thing. Because I must have used various phrasings of people's footsteps about 50 times in this fucking book. And I was just like, I have got to get rid of 99% of these.
Yeah.
Because it's.
But I think, and I also think that's. Yeah. I think that's why I like this book so much.
Yeah, this book has really good descriptions, and I think
it is a novella too.
It is. I think it's popped up in mine because I've been trying not to rely on visual descriptors, and then I've just used the same fucking sound descriptor over.
That's what drafts and editing are for, honey. That's what drafts and editing are for.
Me, and I was like, this is gotta go.
Yeah. No, I just love the, like, it's a very different book for me. I don't normally like what I would call this magical realism. I just don't know what its official thing is, like in a bookseller or whatever. But for me, I don't normally read modern day stuff. I don't normally read this sort of realism in style stuff. But the way he writes is just so. Oh,
it's beautiful.
It's like poetry. It is a form of poetry the way he writes.
It's really.
Yeah, and I think I said to you in our chat it's a masterclass on writing. Reading this novel.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I just realized I thought I had my laptop. My laptop is in my suitcase in the car. I thought I had my laptop because I was like, I should switch to my laptop because my phone's only on 40%. Can't switch to my laptop. And then I'd also realized before I realized I didn't have my laptop, I was like, oh shit, I don't have the laptop charger because that's in the suitcase, not in my backpack. And I think the battery might be a bit flat on the laptop because I haven't charged it in 3 days. Everything's fucking flat, including the car. And everything's in the car, except for, at least, I did think to bring this. So if I can find a USB to wall port, I'll be all right. Otherwise, my phone's probably going to die.
Or do you have a power board that's got a USB connection in it?
Yeah, there should be something around the house. Gilbert usually has something.
Or we're just going to end up with a very, very short stream.
Very short stream. Look, usually I would have a power bank that I could plug into, which is also in the fucking car, in the suitcase.
I was going to say, is that in the suitcase too?
It's in the suitcase too. Oh, well, we might end up just having to, walk over to the car after all. I've got roadside assist, so I could have just called them. We came out to try and get jumper leads.
Yeah.
And We haven't found any so far, but I haven't really looked. So probably.
I also wouldn't recommend jumper leads on a car that was made after 2000 because the computer can actually be fried if you try to jump it.
I think it should be fine. We tried roll starting it.
Yeah, no, they a RSCV guy actually said that to my dad once. He just said if it's any younger than I think 2000, it's got a computer that controls all the starter motor and everything. And he says that if you try to jump start it, it fries it out. So just pull over to the side of the road, call us, we'll get it started for you.
Yeah.
So I've always run on the theory that we've got RACV, we pay for it every year, we might as well use it.
Yeah, I've got roadside assist with Amy. Gotcha.
Yeah. Kitty cat, kitty cat. Oh, off he goes.
Yeah, I had it for a second. I'm gonna be covered in white hair. I don't know why they like a cat that sheds that's white.
My family, we used to have a black and white cat. He was 90% black and he still shed white hair. It's just what cats do. They shed white hair.
Well, they shed the black hair too. You just can't see it.
Yeah. No, even JJ, like tiger stripes and everything, sheds white.
Yeah. Anyway, the I remember the Audible summary of the book, just to randomly get back on topic.
No, that's all right.
Was they didn't go into the guy watching Airy. I think the only thing that was said about her was that she was in a sleep too deep to be natural.
Yes, I think so. I think that's It
was intriguing. But I really liked it. There wasn't there was plot, but it wasn't overly plot driven.
It's very much a literary novel.
Yeah, it's a very much exploring character relationships and journeys of that sort of thing. So it had a nice conclusion.
Yeah.
But it was very much the conclusion of the plot was once the characters sort of fulfilled their miniature arcs of the one night.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is just focused on one night, a couple of random encounters that completely change a few people's perspective on life or open them up to the possibility of some kind of change.
Mm.
And then, it's like in a novel, this would have been probably the inciting incident night.
Yeah. In a TV show, it would have been the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. Or the pilot episode to get the characters established, to get them, get people interested in who these characters are and what's going to happen to them.
But, that's not like a slag on it or anything because it basically takes that moment that a lot of longer form things skim over and really goes in depth on it. So the characters were really, really interesting. I really liked the hotel owner.
Karu,
the manager. Yeah, she was great. With a bleach blonde buzz cut.
I just like how matter of fact her and her workers are.
Yeah.
They're just like, this is what we do. We look after a love hotel. People book in here and, do their deed and then leave, and then we clean up after them,
Yeah.
They're fulfilling a purpose.
It's just like, most of the people who are here are going to stay the night now, so I got my time off pretty much.
Yeah. 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 So, she's a very interesting character, and she's someone that you would love to learn a bit more about, I think, because she was an ex-wrestler and she had all this sort of history. And her work, I can't think of her name. One of the cleaners. Cricket, yeah. Cricket, yeah. They call her by it in Japanese, I think, but it means cricket. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's she would be very interesting. It's like you got to wonder what she did to be on the run and what's going on. And, yeah.
It sort of gave the impression, because that was part that I listened to today while I was looking at bed sheets. In a sort of shop that sells mattresses and things, they had this funny random story in Kyneton. There's this shop that does mattresses and beds and has sheets and stuff, and they're the main sort of supplier of this certain brand of sheets that are really fancy ones. Like, what are they, like? Something Craft, starts with an L. Anyway, that brand of sheets has opened up its own store on Piper Street. So the owners put all of their stock on clearance immediately.
Good on him. Good on him.
So bad. It was like, I'll see. Show you who's the main stockist. And it's really funny because he'll just get rid of all the stock, and then if they go out of business, he can order more in.
Love it. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just find it interesting that you're looking at new bed sheets whilst you're listening to a audiobook where they're cleaning a love hotel.
Yeah. Well, that was at the conversation with cricket part, so they weren't cleaning up yet. I listened to that a few days ago while I was packing at work. But yeah, it was funny. Mum said she was in there the other day, and the guy was really annoyed, and he was saying stuff like, well, they'll see Piper Street's only active. It's dead 5 days out of 7. and she was just really happy because it meant they had these $100 sheets, flannel sheets that are really, really expensive, down to like $40.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So we went in and I got a set.
That's almost worth the drive up to Kyneton just to go to the go and get some cheap sheet sets.
Yeah. You wouldn't spend that much in petrol getting up here.
No.
It was funny because they only had a few left, and I was listening to the audiobook and they laid out the colours. There was like a blue, a pink, and a grey. And it was funny because Mum was just like, "Oh, there you go," and I was just like, that one straight away to the grey, and the guy was like, "Oh, cool, we like a decisive customer." Because I was like, I didn't even have to look at it. It was the only one of the 3 colours that I liked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was listening to that conversation between Cricket and Mari at that point in the day, because I put it on in the morning when we were getting ready to go into hospital for the X-ray. Which came back all clean. I don't know if I said on Instagram, but for context for anyone who's watching this back, I had a sore wrist this week, and I realized because I've fallen on it multiple times from my bike, I could have gotten a hairline fracture and not realized. So I went in to get it X-rayed, but it was all fine. So it's probably RSI or something like that.
Well, you probably just done a bit of tendon damage or something from the falls that it just needs a rest.
Yeah, and I strained the same hand when I started playing piano because I strained the ligaments in my pinky. And
never do anything by halves, do you, Charlotte?
Not known for it, no. But yeah, so I went in and got an X-ray today, which is cool. Now I have a cool X-ray of my hand or of my wrist.
Right.
There's no fixtures or anything, which is good. But yeah, I was listening to it, and I had to keep pausing it to like go in, get the X-ray and stuff like that. But I was listening to it because I was like, shit, I've got 2 hours left. And then I knew at 1 o'clock my brother was coming down on the train, and would probably be busy for most of the day. And I got through. I think I only had 40 minutes left by the time we pitched them up. So then I found a bit of time during the day later on in the afternoon to finish it off.
Yeah. Well, for context, this is about 5.5 hours long. It's not a very long novella. It's not a big listen. I normally get it knocked over in an afternoon if I put it on.
Yeah. I could have finished it all on Monday, but I got about halfway through, and it was getting to the point where I was needing to pause it all the time. People were asking me questions and stuff at work, and I was getting too distracted to concentrate on it enough to pay attention. Yeah. So I turned it off and put some music on, and then I didn't really feel like finishing it that day. And I was like, I'll finish it later this week. And then I was going to finish it yesterday, and then I didn't feel like putting it back on.
Yeah.
I wanted to listen to music instead, so I didn't. But yeah, but no, it was really good. I really like the first few chapters. Here's something interesting we can talk about: is the narration style.
Yes.
Is breaking the fourth wall a bit in.
Yes, it does.
And it's very sort of semi-self-aware of this abstract consciousness that's second
For we
person.
are just a point of view.
Yeah, or we.
Yeah. I do like that.
It's like a blend of omniscient and cinematic with a self-aware camera.
Yeah.
And some sort of like omniscient narrator who is not supposed to intervene.
Yeah. I do like it. It's not something I would ever put in a novel myself, but it's that kind of play. It's that play with wording and play with point of view that it can be done really, really well, or can be just a mess. And I just think he does it really well.
Yeah, I don't think I would do it for a novel or a novella. I would maybe try it for a short story. And if it didn't go well, then I can just chuck it and rewrite it because it's only a few thousand words. But yeah, I don't think I would do that for a full novel length piece.
No. But it is very much, it is very self-aware. And, you know, like even more than once you're told we are just the point of view, so we can't intervene. You know, we are just observers here. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the camera zooms, the imaginary camera zooms
out and back in again.
Or shifts to focus looking for this as if it knows what to look for. And it's really interesting. And then it's there's the time, there's the passage of time, which is really interesting, which is marketed throughout the book, which I really like. I think that's something that I want to do in mine because I recently just sort of condensed the timeline of my own book down to a single, like 4 or 5 hours for the main first chunk of action. And then my point of view character is unconscious for about a day and a half. And then another, probably there's a chunk where they're traveling, which will be skipped over in a paragraph. But the bits that are actually fleshed out is probably another 2 or 3 hours. So the main action takes place over, say, the equivalent of about 3 days. Majority in 1 day, and then the last day.
Yeah, well, it's not uncommon for sci-fis to have date stamps as their chapter names and stuff. So it's definitely something you could do. Yeah.
Well, that would help me solidify the setting as well, because I could put the year once I decide on it.
You know, and that's one thing that I do like about this is I like that it is such a contained time frame. You know, you it's a slice of life for these characters in this time frame, and you can learn a lot from that. You know, like as you said, there's not really much of a plot, but that's fine because you're not going into it to read a plot. You're not reading an action. This happens and this happens and this happens. It's not a hero's journey. You know, it's not a save the cat. You know, it is just literally these characters.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Thank God it's not a hero's journey, although I bet someone could map it onto the fucking hero's journey.
The point of being able to map anything onto the hero's journey is because the hero's journey is so vanilla, you can fit it to anything.
Yeah.
It's not that the novels fit into the hero's journey. The hero's journey fits anything.
To everything, yeah.
Yeah. But this is not intentionally a opening scene, a inciting incident, although yes, there is an inciting incident, but then it doesn't lead on to high lows, and then a thing at the end. In fact, you don't even you don't even see him take her to the train.
No, it just sort of skips to her getting home.
Exactly, yeah, and which is fine, but if this was a hero's journey or a
That
Save
would've-
the Cats, well,
that
that would
would've
have been them going back to their real lives,
Yeah. The return to normal having
losing
changed.
you.
Mm. Oh, you're losing me.
Oh,
Right.
Jesus.
Mine seems
Well,
to be fine.
I know my hubby's not using the microwave, but you're uploading, aren't you?
I'm not doing stuff all. Absolutely nothing. I'm editing and then I'll save it. That's it.
Hang on. I've lost Charlotte.
I think I'm losing you technically because you're sort of going jumpy.
Yeah, I'm on our booster. I'm on our booster for our Wi-Fi, and it seems to be working okay. But every so often, it's just fading out, and I'm not sure why. Oh God, there's just some more technical issues we have to look into.
Yay, fun. Yeah, I should be fine because I'm on my phone and I've got 4G and full reception. So
no, I think it's my end. I honestly think it's my end, but because every so often,
fine, and you go all choppy, and the I can still hear you, but the visuals freeze a little bit.
Yeah, and I think the problem is I'm on our booster, our Wi-Fi booster. I'm not on our actual Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And the problem, I think what's happening is I think there's a bit of a delay between the booster and the Wi-Fi, but yeah, I'm going to have to play with that. I'm also doing a bit heavier streaming because I'm actually coming from OBS over because I just wanted to test that up. Yeah. So it's probably a bit heavier than. It's the only way I could get my microphone to work. Oh, just this. Oh, yeah, we won't discuss that. But hey, look who we've got. We've got a Hannah. Yay. Yeah, Hannah. If you, the background is because if I took the green screen down, you would see boxes. What else have we got behind there? A ladder. Yeah, so
my brother's lounge room. So
yeah.
I
promise we'll do a new office tour, and in all its glory and mess.
Also, yes, I do need to have this cut. It's getting to the point where it gets knotty really easily, which means I need to give it a trim. But I kind of don't want to do it myself because I might fuck it up. So,
well,
I'm considering.
Shock horror. I had to brush my hair today because it got knotty.
Oh, I remember those days. Mine, here's funny. I didn't wash or brush my hair the entire time I was in Sydney because I didn't take a hairbrush. And I took some crumbled up shampoo bar, but I didn't end up using it. And on the last day, I was like, oh, I probably should have used it. But I didn't take a hairbrush because it's not long enough that you need to brush it every day. Like, it would benefit from it, but it just gives it a bit more sort of punk if you don't brush it. And I quite enjoy that.
I've done now. I got my hair cut extremely short, and now that's it. I'm growing it out. I wanted to grow it out this year, but I thought with 2 young kids, it's not going to work. So I got it cut short for the last time. But what we've done, Hannah, is we've moved the study. So we've moved it from the 3rd bedroom into what we call the brick cave, which for reasons that will become apparent. Because we've obviously need the 3rd bedroom for number 2. And speaking of number 2, she's chirruping away in her sleep. She might come and visit later. Yes, because I am so crafty, I make people. And so we are in here in the brick cave, but there's an absolute pigsty behind me. So I spent the money on a green screen because I figured when I'm recording podcasts and that, I figured it would just be nice to have something to put behind me. So,
well, I've only got. I'm just trying to see if I've got. I know I don't have it because I know where I put it in my bag, but I'm still searching my bag for whether I've got one of those USB port things. No, it is definitely in the car. But I do have, of all the useless things that are in my bag for this stream, my book, which is getting more and more destroyed. It was in my bag and my bag got water on it, and now it's got a big mark that has leaked through to
oopsies.
the back page.
That's what you need to see, that kind of stuff. That means it's been well loved.
It's got character, and it's got a lot of scribbles in it now. Like, I don't know if you can see all of
nice.
Oh, I have some. There's some bits where I just get a bit over it. And so I just do. I know stuff needs to be changed, like majorly stuff. So I just go through it, and instead of actually writing notes, I've just got nope, nope,
no.
Entire paragraphs. There's one which is actually really funny. It's like no, maybe, no, yes, no.
Oh dear.
But it was good having a printout. There's one scene in there which is like an interrogation scene that needed major edits, but I knew there was some good stuff in there, so I've gone through that with like the most brutal red pen, and it was so satisfying. And I was like, finally,
it's great, isn't it?
That scene. Yeah, because look, on the computer, it's a mess, and you're just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh gosh.
Because I've got I actually have got my novella out finally, because now that we've moved the study and everything, but I finally got it out. Oop, don't knock the microphone, Renee. And because the printout I currently have is actually got my workshop crew's notes in it.
Yeah.
So it's twice the size it needs to be because it's got like 2 sets of notes in it. And as you can see, see all the red and that's my workshop crew's notes. That's not even mine. I have not even started yet. So I'm already well ahead with all the red and the nope and the get rid of this chapter. Get rid of this paragraph.
I'm gonna have a month's worth of edits, rewrites, and adding stuff in at least. Maybe 2 months worth because of the pace that I am working at. I've just gotten pretty much to the end. I think I've got like 3 pages left. It's all of the last paragraphs of this is what happens, but I haven't written it yet.
Yeah. So, I think mine literally has the last chapter. Literally has. I was going to put this in, but I'm not sure. you know, and which the thing that I was going to put in is like another 3 chapters if I decide to put it in, and it's just like I don't know.
Yeah.
But I read that the other day and I went, oh shit, yeah. There might be 3 more chapters I have to write.
Yeah. I finally have a closing scene that I like, which is nice. And like an ending that I'm happy with. It's sort of a semi-open-ended because it's the first in a series, but it has a conclusion to a character arc, even though the main sort of plot stuff is like the conclusion is basically like an escape of sorts. But it's kind of clear that shit has very much not been fully resolved in that sense. But it's resolved in a way. It's resolved enough that it can kick off right from the start of book 2 straight away. But it's resolved yeah, it's resolved enough to be a resolution, I think.
And this is so not After Dark.
So not related.
Sorry, guys. It's just that kind of day, I think. Look, it's After Dark as a novella. Love it. Even if you're not into that style of writing, I would heartily recommend you read it. Even if it's just so you can see how a master writes description.
Yes, I've been seeing little bits that I'm like, I might steal that. I might steal that too. The description is like what I aspire to.
Yeah, you sit there. You just know he sat there contemplating that line for 6 weeks before he realised that was exactly what it needed to say. You know, some of it's just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do the same thing, Hannah. I resolved most of them before I printed it, but there's still every now and then there's a square bracket. I wonder if I can find one relatively quickly. I think I had one that was like insert alien here.
Yeah. I think my what I do is I will go, no, I don't like that whole section, put a strike through it, and then try to rewrite it, and then get lazy halfway through rewriting that and just go, oh yeah, I want this to happen and that to happen and this to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and then I go back to typing it all up and go, oh shit, I never wrote that. I never wrote that 500 words I needed to write. But yeah.
Whoops. Yeah, I've got missing scenes all over.
Yeah. I write chronologically on my first draft, but when I'm editing, it's an absolute mess. Because I'll go, I don't like that scene, and because I don't have that scene, I have to remove this bit because this doesn't make sense and that doesn't make sense. And so you get strikeouts through the whole thing. And then I have to go in and go, okay, well, if I'm not going to put this in, what am I going to put in? So,
yeah.
it's...
I'm trying to think what I do. I do not write in order at all. I write the same as I talk. And you've all watched me stream and see how I talk. So that should give you an idea of how I do my books in terms of writing in chronological order. It's about the same. So I'll write I don't even write scenes in order. Like, writing a scene for me is very rarely chronological. It's more like doing a jigsaw puzzle with words. And that's just to get to the sentence level. And then it's doing a jigsaw puzzle with sentences to get paragraphs, and then a jigsaw puzzle with paragraphs to get a scene. In terms of, I'll have an idea for lines and then skip down, write them, and then write my way down to those lines. Have another idea for something earlier, go up and write that. And I jump all over the place. I really should screen record myself doing it one day, just because it would be a fascinating process to watch. But yeah.
Sounds very Fangorn to me. In Lord of the Rings, when Merry and Pippin meet Fangorn, and they're telling him what their journey so far, none of it's in chronological order because he doesn't think that way. He just asks questions wherever he wants, and he goes backwards and forwards, and and I'm just sitting there going, no, I need it in chronological order to start, and then I'll ask questions.
Yeah, that's about an accurate analysis of what my writing process is like.
Yes, as you might be able to tell, I have my brain back.
Woo! I have a couch that is very comfortable and a phone that is 25%. So we should make it to the hour-ish.
Yeah. No,
and then what else can we say about this novella? It's very good. I recommend it. Not if you're after some sort of action-packed thriller in the mood for that. If you're in the mood for a sort of whimsical but slightly sort of with sort of magic realism but sinisterish vibes, Sinister
it's
Dark.
it's a literary novella. It's literary. It's not so much a sci-fi or a fantasy, which we've talked about mostly in these book clubs. It is very much a modern realism, magical sort of thing. It's not what you would. It's actually like, I tell people I love this book, and they look at me strange and go, "I would never pick you for loving this book."
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's just, I love it. I haven't read any of his other stuff. I know he has stuff that's a lot more sort of fantasy based, but I don't need to. I'm perfectly happy just reading this After Dark and just leaving it at that. I don't need to read any of his other stuff. I might eventually, but I just don't think I need to at this time. Other than what I talk about when I talk about running, because I love that book too. That's right. His sense of humor comes through in that book quite well. So.
Yeah, so it's really an enjoyable read, and it's not very long. So
yeah,
definitely recommend, particularly if you're into stuff like horror, which I know Hannah is.
Yes,
you're into
definitely.
sort of the horror-y sort of things, but you also like sort of whimsical fairy tales and literary sort of. Well, you wouldn't even have to be into literary to enjoy this. Like, it's not.
See, this is the thing. Yeah,
in a pretentious way.
It's you can read it. You can put your tone of what you're interested in into it. So I'm interested in fantasy. So I sort of read it with a bit more of a fantasy sort of, the thing about the area sky has in this deep sleep, and then and this sort of magical sort of tone. But if you wanted to read it with a horror bent,
or a sci-fi horror,
it would actually feel quite. It could actually feel quite ominous, quite dark.
Yeah. I think it lightens the resolution, sort of pulls it up from being like a super ominous. It's not a super ominous ending, which I enjoy.
It could be. It could be because you don't know what happened to the sisters.
Yeah.
It could be. Spoiler warning. You could read it as in now both the sisters are trapped. Or
you could read it
maybe you could read it as one sister's gotten the other one out.
Yeah.
There's no conclusion.
Well, it's the nice sort of open to interpretation style resolution.
Yeah.
But that point about you can read it in different ways is really, really true. You could read it with a fantasy lens, you could read it with a sci-fi lens, you could read it with like a horror thriller lens, and it would work either way. Urban fantasy, magic realism, like all of that would work really well, depending on how you look at it, because it doesn't prescribe genre.
No.
It just sort of tells this really interesting, whimsical story. It's not even so much a whimsical story. It's just the way that it's written and described has that sort of really whimsical feel to the narration and the characters and all that sort of stuff.
Or you could read it with you could read it with a much more of a darker intent,
Absolutely.
So it's interesting, and I think that's in a way he trusts his reader to draw their own conclusions.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite refreshing, because so many novels, particularly in this world that we are stuck in a lot of YA stuff, it is this is the interpretation, this is how it should be read, this is what it should be. When everyone reads stuff differently, and in my mind he trusts you to read it how you need to read it at the time. Like, I've read it, as I said, 3-4 times a year for multiple years, and I always get something different out of it every time.
Don't mind me, I'm just looking for a PowerPoint.
Yeah, I know.
Found one. It's from I think it's from Oh, it's got a charger. Oh, but my one's longer, so we'll pull that out. Bingo. Oh, we're charging. All right, I could set it up like this and just sit on the floor as well.
Oh, wow. Yay!
You're sat on the couch and I'm sat on the floor. Yeah, no, I really liked the writing style. I actually had a couple of other, like one or Libby with my library has a lot of his audiobooks. They just didn't have this one. And I borrowed, was it 1984?
Oh, the
or something like that.
10Q8. No, it's like 1Q84 or something.
1284, and it's like 1984 but set in a different country, and that looks really good.
That if I used to own that book. I never got around to reading that, but it's like that thick.
Yeah, I think
in reality.
Yeah.
And he also wrote is it Kafka on the Shore?
What, a Kafka rewrite?
Yeah, something like that.
He did Metamorphoses, but Japanese.
His books. He's written. Where's his books?
There we go.
He's won a lot of prizes too.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It's the sort of writing that is very awardable.
Yeah, Kafka on the Shore he wrote. And it is... What's this one? This one is two distinct but interrelated plots. The narrative runs back and forth between both plots, taking up a plot line in alternating chapters. A 15-year-old Kafka story as he runs away from his father's house to escape an Oedipus curse and to embark on a quest to find his mother and sister. After a series of adventures, he finds shelter in quiet, private. Yeah, and it's very he's written a lot of like chunky literary style novels. But I just think this one is just a nice little refreshing, little palate cleanser, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's very much like a novella, and it's a masterclass in sort of character and characterization and description, and a really interesting narration style.
Yeah. He also wrote one book I've always been interested of his to read was Norwegian Wood, which I've never gotten around to reading.
What?
Norwegian Wood, it's called. But yeah, I just haven't gotten around to reading it. Yeah, 1Q84 it's called.
The title is Norwegian Wood.
Yeah, it covers fictionalized year of 1984 in parallel with a real one. The novel is a story of how a woman named but it's a chunker. It's like thick. And I just never got around to reading that.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. No, I definitely like rereading it as a palate cleanser. That's simply because of that reason that you can read it with multiple different tones. Because it's just, and it's so short, like 5.5 hours audiobook. It's an afternoon, and
this is how you lose the time war.
Yeah. Which is, and that's actually interesting because the difference is this is how you lose the time war is very much plot driven.
It is,
and I still that is also now on my rotation of books that I'm going to listen to over and over again. But it's sort of his is more sort of a slight walk through the forest, when hers is when this is how you lose the time war sort of feels more like a
race through time.
A race, yeah.
It's the difference, I think, is in the timelines that they pick, because they both have similar ways or like similar levels of delving into character, description, and interesting narration.
Yes.
But the difference, the prime difference between the two of them is that This Is How You Lose the Time War is spanning all of time and space.
Yes.
And After Dark is as if you took one of those little scenes from This Is How You Lose the
12
Time
hours.
War, went really in depth with it.
Yeah. Yeah, which is that's probably a good way to look at it. You know, it's just one is like just slowed down, nice, you know, nice little slice of life. The other one is manic. A good manic, but manic. Yeah.
Chaos. Yeah.
Yes.
It was interesting actually. I was back to the plot of After Dark. I was kind of hoping that they would actually catch up with what's his name? The businessman guy?
Yeah,
And
Sharakaki or something? Yeah.
Sharakuza or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
And then when and then that one bit where their paths almost cross, I was like, ah, damn it. But then I was also slightly relieved because I was like, well, at least the cab driver didn't get caught up in it. Like, the lovely cab driver that he had.
Yeah. But I like the ominous of the phone calls, you know.
It's always going to the wrong person. That was really funny. I think we're losing a little bit.
I like the phone calls to the phone. We will find you. We will find, you know, that as like they nearly very much did find him, but because he didn't turn his head and look, he didn't see him.
And I love it was so funny that random people kept answering the phone who had nothing to do with it, and they're like, what the fuck is this about?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yes. Well, there's also too, it's like Terasaki, he picks up the phone because, you know, in his mind someone might be ringing their phone to try to find it, you know, so he can say, oh hey, yeah, it's here at the so and so, I'll leave it at the desk or whatever. And no, instead he gets this random threatening phone call and he's like, excuse me?
What? Excuse me?
And his personality strikes me as the type of personality that would take that to heart too.
Yeah. Well, he said, didn't he, that at first he thinks it wasn't for him, and then afterwards he starts to think maybe it was the universe telling him exactly what he needed to hear at the right time.
Yeah.
Which is really funny.
Yeah. And that, like, speaking of like little character traits, I love how Mari has these things about chicken and the eggs and, you know, this and sushi, you know, and fish, and it's just like, oh, that is so like, you know, modern generation, you know. Oh no, we can't eat the chicken, it's full of hormones.
Yeah.
But she's just so matter of fact about it all.
He says there's not something wrong with eggs, is there? And she says, well, not that I know of, but I imagine if there's something wrong with chicken, then there's probably something wrong with eggs.
Yeah. He's like, oh, well, you just destroyed every snack I like, you know. But I do like how he goes through the whole thing when they first meet at Denny's, and he goes, I don't really need to look at the list, but you know, the menu, but because I always order exactly the same thing, but I don't want to be known as someone who comes into Denny's and only ever orders this, so I pretend to look at the menu.
Yeah.
He's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, actually, you know what? I've done that in some of my favorite restaurants. You know, just gone in and then sat there and looked at the menu, knew exactly what I was going to order, but I still looked at the menu.
Yeah. Just on the off chance there's something better.
Oh, dear.
I usually end up doing that, not because I'm meaning to order the same thing every time, but because I take so long to decide that I'm like, fuck it, I'll just get the thing that I know is good, because I'm going to take like half an hour reading this menu otherwise.
So if we go into Snits, you know what I'm ordering? I'm ordering a Parmageddon.
Nice.
because I love that damn thing. I love a beef ptarmigan. It has to be a beef.
They have a nice tropical one which has like the pineapple and beef.
Shit, that reminds me. I forgot to get beef schnitzel today.
Oh no.
They didn't
Oh,
have
well.
any. They didn't have any beef sizzle steaks at Aldi because I normally buy them and then crumb them myself.
Yeah.
So I was going to go up to the butcher and get schnitzels, and we completely forgot to go to Coles to get Worcestershire sauce, which means I forgot to go to the butcher. Might have to go for a walk up to Coles.
I've got to walk back and get my car from Woolies. That'll be fun. I bet when we get back there, it'll start without us needing to do anything.
Yeah,
because
probably.
it's been sitting there for an hour.
Yeah, maybe.
Bastard of a thing. It's due for a service. I'll get them to check everything and make sure. We'll find out what's wrong with it. Because the battery's been holding charge fine.
Oh, that's good.
Reckon it's something in the connections.
Yeah, it might be.
The connection to the starter motor or something. The
Yeah,
earth leak keeps getting all corroded and covered in shit that we have to keep cleaning off.
Yeah, I'd be a bit worried about that.
Yeah, well, Dad cleaned it off again today. Cleaned everything off. He cleaned it off a week ago, and then he cleaned it off again today and put a new piece in there that wasn't corroded. Just a new fitting on the end. Swapped it out. And
pardon me.
again, so we'll have to. It might be one of the leads is dodgy, but it's
Yeah,
due
could
for
be.
service. So we'll take it in, get it serviced, and find out what's wrong.
Yeah, so you don't have the advantage of being on Mars and, not having corrosion. Sorry.
Yeah,
Hark back to the Martian.
no Mars. Oh, that's a good thing we could do because it's the 1 year anniversary. We should say what our favorite reads from the last year have been.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we
order.
could do that. Well, look, to be honest, I don't have much more to say about After Dark other than the fact that I love it and I think everyone should at least give it a go. It's not going to be for everyone, but I say at least give it a go. It's only 5.5 hours out of your life.
Oh, exactly. And you can do dishes and stuff at the same time. Particularly
Oh,
if
yeah,
you've got
definitely.
That's something I really liked. The narrator.
I love her.
She's really good. Was it Kate Redding?
Let me bring it up. I just loved her. I love her voice. It's so soothing.
Yeah, she's
It was
very
perfect
similar.
fit.
She has a very similar voice and narration style to the woman narrator on A Darker Shade of Magic series, or the Shades of Magic series, but it's a different person. And it's similar. Judy Bennett. Kate Redding must be the Darker Shade of Magic book one. Because Darker Shades, like the Shades of Magic series, they got Michael Kramer from the Mistborn series. He does the Mistborn series ones as well.
Oh, yeah.
I actually I like him as a narrator, but because they got him in to narrate from the male points of view in the books 2 and 3 at least. The one that I listened to for book 1 was all Kate Redding. And then she was split 50-50 for some of the points of view for the later books, and Michael Kramer did some of the other points of view. And I wished the entire book was just narrated by her because I really liked her voice for one of the characters.
Well, that's the thing is that's what I like is even though there are sort of male points of view, it's just one narrator. See, and I don't have a problem with having a male narrator do male and female points of view, and I don't have vice versa problem. I actually find it a bit like off-putting when they do change the narrator. I'm happier just to have one person. I think it's because for me the narrator has to eventually disappear into the story. Yeah. And so I like just to hear the same voice all through.
Same here, I think, because the only exception I think would be I wouldn't mind, and I haven't downloaded it yet or bought it yet, but I've been meaning to get This Is How We Lose the Time War in audio. that sort of situation, having two narrators would not bother me.
That works. That one works because it's very
But
distinct.
but when they do one for the male characters and one for the female characters, it kind of annoys me because they all have to do dialogue from the other characters. And then you get all of the side characters who aren't the point of view character in that scene having two different voices read them, and it's off-putting.
Well, the only times I find that changes, the only times I find that doesn't affect anything is I've got a couple of books that are short story sort of compilations. They're knitting books. One is A Stash of One's Own, and the other one is I can't think of the name at the moment. But the short stories written by females has a female narrator, and the short stories written by males has a male narrator. And I don't mind that because they're short stories. They're self-contained.
That's the thing. They're self-contained. Anything that's not self-contained where they're switching.
And the only other time I've enjoyed it is when I used to get this out from my library on cassette, was the dramatization of The Lord of the Rings. But that one, every character had its own voice actor. The narrator was a different person again. So every character was spoken as if it was like a play.
Yeah, like a radio.
So it wasn't just one person or two people reading out when they're different points of views and having that problem with the dialogue. It was every time Legolas was speaking, it was the Legolas person. Every time Aragorn was speaking, it was his actor. And that worked.
That also works for me. Like, I don't mind per se. I usually try and just get one narrator ones because the dramatization ones I've found sometimes leave out some of the description and replace it with sound effects. And that kind of annoys me because I want to hear the whole book. It's like an abridged version. But what annoys what kind of annoys me is having that switch between two narrators for male and female, because there's not like the Kate Redding, who does all of the voices for whatever characters are in the scene, does it really well. You don't need a guy coming in to do the points of view just because it's from a male character's point of view, when she's already doing the male characters perfectly, wonderfully well. And I actually like her version of Alucard's voice better in that thing than the other guy's one. I really liked the other guy's narration as well, but it kept making me think I was listening to Mistborn and not Darker Shades of Magic.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing is that's one of the things is, as far as I'm concerned, is it's like when you're reading a book, you want the narrator to disappear. You want to be reading, you want to feel that you're in the moment. And I feel that for me carries on to audiobooks because I don't want the narrator to interfere with my enjoyment of the story. It's a little bit different with After Dark because it is a self-aware narrator. So you expect a certain amount of interference.
But it's still only one narrator.
Yeah, but that's intention on the author's part. When it's non-intentional, it's just, because I've got 2 points of view, one's male, one's female, I have to have 2 narrators. It's like, no, you don't.
No,
you don't.
If mine ever gets turned into audiobook, I'm only getting one narrator. I plan
on doing my own. I love it when the author reads their own work. That's one of my favorites.
I don't know if I would do my own, but I would fucking love either the narrator from this book or the narrator from Darker Shades of Magic.
Oh, if I could afford it, but it can cost like $3-4 grand just to do a novel.
Oh yeah, no, this is like pipe dream if it was traditionally published by like Tor or something, which I don't think that's ever gonna happen for this one necessarily, unless it suddenly is really way better than it currently is. But like if I could choose, I would choose someone like that. Because they do different voices really well, and
I love the narrator from this one, Judy Bennett. I think she's amazing. But
she's really good. I think it's nice because it's got, or potentially you could get like Mary Robinette Kowal from from Writing Excuses. She does audiobook narration as well.
Yeah, she's got a good voice.
She does her own books as well, and it was really weird because I listened to the free sample on Audible of the first one of her Jane Austen with Magic series, like the Glamorous Histories series.
Oh, yep.
I listened to the first one, and the voice that he puts on in that sample, I was actually like it's sort of like a Regency sort of character voice, because it's set in Regency era, and it's like the character voice. But it kind of put me off a little bit because I was like, I just want you to read it to me in your normal voice. But
I'm just updating it. Okay, so if we're looking at what we've done over the last year, so it just took me a minute to get up the list because my internet's a bit funky. But okay, so May last year we started with Good Omens.
Yes.
Then Altered Carbon, Mistborn, the 5th season, Going Postal, Broken Angels, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, The Hogfather, This Is How You Lose the Time War, Stardust, The Martian, Schlock Mercenary, Forced Multiplication, and After Dark.
That's right. So we've done 13 now, haven't we?
13. Yeah. So which one would be your favourite?
This Is How You Lose the Time War is probably my favourite of all, like, favourite. But it's really hard to choose because I've got probably a top 5.
Top 5 out of 13. 50% of them.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, I like different ones for different moods and different genres sort of thing. So Going Postal is one of my all-time favourite books now, and so is This Is How You Lose the Time War. I enjoyed Mistborn enough to go and read the entire series, and I've finished the entire series since then.
Still haven't finished Mistborn yet.
Yeah. I still haven't finished Addie, but I was really enjoying it. I just haven't finished it because now I know what happens in the end, and I haven't got round to it.
Yeah.
But I might get the audiobook and just listen to it again because I really enjoyed Addie. But I enjoyed Addie enough to go pick up a different V.E. Schwab series, which is the Shades of Magic series, and read the entire series. So I guess Addie wins on, like, the author I've enjoyed the most. Or, like, if I had various categories in, how do I phrase this? If I could give a certain amount of different awards, they would all win different awards for different enjoyment.
If we turned around and said we had to reread one of them and it had to be your next read, which one would it be?
Either Going Postal or This Is How You Lose the Time War.
Okay.
Probably. But at the same time, I would reread Mistborn. I would reread Addie. I would reread The Martian. I would probably reread After Dark. After Dark, I think I would just have to be in the mood for that sort of thing.
Yeah, like, you do have to. I feel you have to be in the mood for it. Very much so. Yeah.
Okay, if I wanted hard science fiction and humor, I would pick up The Martian. If I just wanted humor, I would pick up Terry Pratchett. And Going Postal. Going Postal, I've also read multiple other Terry Pratchett things since then. So I think there's multiple different categories we can score the books on. Did it make you finish the series, if it's part of a series? Did it make you pick up other books by the same author? Or did it make you want to reread that book multiple times?
See, I think though that if I had to reread one of them right now, like literally say I'm going to reread this book now, I think I might actually be surprised and say the 5th season, because now that I know the twist, I want to reread it. I want to reread it and see how she did it. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, I am actually interested,
but it's not my favorite.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite, but I would reread it.
Yeah, but if I had to, like looking at the list and said, okay, I have to reread one of them right now, I think that, well, bear in mind, I reread The Martian at least once every couple of months. I reread After Dark, several times a year. I have reread Altered Carbon and Broken Angels over the years.
You're more of a reader than I am, but I might become more of a re-listener because
actually, I say reread a lot of the times it's audiobook because I put it on in the background. I'm doing the washing, I'm doing the cleaning. I can put audiobooks on and still pay attention to my son. So it's sort of, and a lot of them you want them to be rereads because you don't actually want something you have to concentrate on. Stardust I would reread in a heartbeat. This Is How You Lose the Time War. I went and bought the physical book so I could sit down and reread it physically.
Yeah.
Hogfather is just every Christmas anyway. Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is going to be destashed eventually. Moving on. Not my thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah. To be honest, though, I still think of them all, my favorite is The Martian, even though as I said, if I had to reread one right now, it would be the 5th season. But that's because from a writer's point of view, I want to go back and pull it apart as a writer and see how she did it and what little hints she put through along the way. I mean, I kind of figured out the twist at the end anyway, but I still want to go through and reread it with that analytical mind, if that makes sense. Rather than just...
I am ready to sort of pick up book 2, but before I read book 2, I want to reread book 1, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. About
20 hours, so I might just skim through book 1.
Book 1, audiobook on × 2.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, because it's not so much for me. It's not so much a read to read the story. It's a read to look at the technique.
Yeah, my top 3 would be The Martian, Going Postal, and This Is How You Lose the Time War. I think. Yeah, I don't remember what else we did. Broken Angels is definitely bottom. Yeah. Broken Angels is absolutely the lowest one for me.
Yeah.
Altered Carbon has gone lower down the list because
No, I would say Altered Carbon for me has dropped down the list not because of it being a bad book, but just because we've read so many good ones.
Yeah. I think it suffered from comparisonitis.
Yeah, it's a first novel. So it's going to not be as good as some of these books because some of these books are, as I said, masterclasses in these authors writing. So
Good Omens is still up there for me. It's just been so long since we read it. Good Omens would win the award for best writing of drunk people I have ever read.
Yes.
That scene is fucking hysterical. And it's like they took it and directly put it into the TV show, and it's brilliantly in the TV show as well.
So much of the TV show is just directly taken from the book. That's what I love about the TV show. Is I can go and watch the TV show and enjoy it because I know that it literally is the book. When so many adaptations, you look at it and go, that was not the book.
Yeah. Schlock Mercenary is high up there.
Yeah, I enjoyed Schlock. To be honest, I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it when I bought, like when I met him and bought like his first, I think it was first 5 volumes, the box set. I had the first box set and I really enjoyed them and I enjoyed this one, but not as much. And I'm not sure why.
It made me want to buy the physical books and read them as a proper comic.
I think that might be the problem. I think it's because I read it on screen. And with me, a comic is to read a comic. Like, I think I've told you about, there's this amazing comic novel, I guess you would call it, called Lighter Than My Shadow by Katie Green.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
you were
it is it is a
last
novel.
before.
Yeah. And it is it's a fat thick, this book. And it is just amazing, but I don't think I would get the same value from it on a screen.
Mm.
Yeah.
What have we had so far? I'm trying to rank them in order of my favorites. I'm tossing up whether Fifth Season or Altered Carbon is, because they're about on par for me. I'm trying to decide which one I enjoy more. And it's hard because I haven't read book 2 in Fifth Season yet, but I've read book 2 in Altered Carbon.
Which changes it, yeah.
Which
And let's
changes it.
face it, the TV series just destroyed it.
Oh, the TV show was terrible. I did not finish.
I didn't
more
get
than,
past the first scene.
I got like an episode and a half in before
I'm sitting there going,
You froze, sorry.
yeah.
But
I know. I heard you go, and I went, oh yeah, I'm frozen again.
Yeah. It was funny because it froze right on you saying I was just sitting there going, and then it froze. So hear what you said next.
Oh, I was just sitting there watching that first scene going, why the hell is he gone to like a information center? I mean, he was so many years old. He'd been stacked how many times? It just it didn't make any sense to me. But yeah. Yeah. Absolute favorite of them all. You know what? To be honest, I reckon Good Omens would be high up there as my favorite. I love The Martian. I love This Is How You Lose the Time War. But Good Omens is just a good, fun read.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to think what else we've read.
And it's Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. I mean, two of my favorite people. So, although I keep getting the Neil Gaiman masterclass ads.
I still get those. Yeah, I've been getting them for about 2 years.
And I get as far as the, your second draft is making it look like you knew what you're doing all along. And I'm like, oh yes, I like that, Neil. Skip.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6,
No, my
7,
thing at the moment is in the bloody ads. Don't ask me why, but all of a sudden the algorithms decided I'm interested in starting an Amazon shop.
Yeah.
So I keep getting those ads where they go, wait. You must hear this if you live in Australia and want to start selling on Amazon. And I'm just like,
I keep getting those.
I don't. Goodbye.
Oh, it's so annoying. All right, I think I've
them.
in order, not including After Dark.
Yeah.
Because I haven't decided where that fits in. But I've ranked the 12 from the first year. I don't know if I'm happy with the order, but I think it's a justifiable order, whereas my instinctual order of maybe favorites would put Addie up higher, higher than Altered Carbon, because I was enjoying reading it more.
You see, when I can't decide which one to put at the bottom, Addie or Broken.
Broken Angels is my bottom. My order at the moment is This Is How You Lose the Time War, Going Postal, The Martian, Mistborn, Good Omens, Schlock Mercenary, The Fifth Season, The Hogfather, Altered Carbon, Stardust, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and Broken Angels. And
also too though, Stardust being third from the bottom isn't a reflection on the story. It's still a good story.
Yeah, it feels like it should be higher up the list, but there's just so many other good ones that I would reread first.
Yeah.
I would re-listen to it just because Neil Gaiman's narrating and it's awesome.
Yeah, well,
but
bingo.
But I would re-listen to Going Postal over Stardust, and I would re-listen to Mistborn over the Fifth Season.
When I didn't even get anywhere near finishing Mistborn, and I would still rate Mistborn over Stardust. And it's not, but I couldn't get through Mistborn because my brain was just not focusing on it. It was just not in that fantasy zone.
Try it again.
I might, because I am currently reading a fantasy. And enjoying it, and looking forward to giving the author some feedback.
Yeah.
But I'm about to get stuck into editing the sci-fi, so it might not last very long, the fantasy kick. But we'll see. My brain sort of I really jump between the two. Like I'm either in a fantasy kick or I'm in a sci-fi kick. I'm not really in. Yeah. I can't really jump between the two very well. But
one of my housemates, my newest housemate, is a reader and has read some V.E. Schwab as well. They haven't read Addie yet, but they're about to. So I might try and reread and finish Addie around the same time as they read it, so then we can have a discussion. So we can have something to chat about with it.
We can do a private stream on and get Emmy in, and me and Emmy can rip it apart again.
I really like it. It had flaws, but I really enjoyed it to the point where I got to. And I think the reason I enjoyed it was just because, I can see how she would be annoying, but I wasn't annoyed by it as much.
Okay, my favorite all-time book, of all time. He knows what it is. Lord of the Rings. I hated Frodo all the way up until about my 25th year, and I read it when I was 12. I thought Frodo was a whingy, whiny little brat, and I could not handle him. I hated him. I used to have the Lord of the Rings trading card of Frodo up on my wall as an example of how not to write a main character in my world. Okay? This is how much I hated Frodo at that time. In subsequent rereads, I've come to understand what Tolkien was actually doing with him.
Yeah.
And that came from maturity, because when I first read Lord of the Rings, I was 12 years old. I didn't understand half of what was going on in that book, maybe even 3/4 of what was going on in that book. Now I understand a lot more about the psychological aspect of the ring and the torture that Frodo goes through. It makes more sense to me that he does what he does. Possibly on a reread, I would feel the same about Addie LaRue.
I think that would be...
Because I don't hate the book.
Yeah,
I just get frustrated with it.
I'm not saying you wouldn't be still annoyed, but I feel like there's bits that I was like, oh no, that kind of makes sense, that were the bits that are annoying, which is that if you're, what was she, 23, and she's a relatively sheltered life, and then you're stuck, you don't really get any character growth, because there's no consequences for your actions, because everyone immediately forgets you. The only
but I automatically cringe at that, because when she was growing up, in the world she was growing up in, she would have been married at 16.
Well,
her parents would have just married her off.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have given her an option to survive until 23 without being married.
There were multiple suitors, and then one of them got sick and died, and then another one married her best friend.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, she would have just rocked up at home one day, and they would have said, "Oh yeah, we married you to so and so down the road." She didn't have a wedding in those days.
That's basically what happened. It just takes a bit longer. And I think the reason it's probably a bit longer is because the book is coming out in 2020, and it's aimed at predominantly a younger audience.
Exactly. And they wouldn't understand.
Relatable.
Someone that is actually a bit of a history buff, that really is a grinder for me, because I sit there go, no, okay, if she was 17 or 18 years old and they were calling her an old hag and she had to get married to a 40-year-old widow, bingo. But as a younger generation probably go, ooh, that sounds disgusting. It's like, yeah, of course it sounds disgusting, because at 18 she was an old hag. It was not, in those days, their prime childbirthing age was like from 15 to 20. So I just, anyway, but that sort of like put me off from the start of the book. Does that make sense? And then it just,
well, if you pretended that she was 17 instead of 23 and just ignored the point where it says she's 23 and then reread it pretending she's 17,
I actually would be perfectly happy with that novel. And I would consider all the actions he makes that to me feel juvenile would be justified, because at 17 she's not an adult yet, and then she's frozen at 17, doesn't make any change, has to learn to survive, but doesn't have any repercussions on her life. That would make total sense to me. But there's one problem with her being 17.
She's technically not 18.
No, it would then be classed as a YA, not a literary novel. Yeah. And I think that would be perfect for it.
Yeah, interesting.
See, if I went into that reading it as a 17-year-old and it was a YA novel, I actually would completely accept everything that happens. I mean, we have YA novels with 15-year-olds that are saving the world and running away from arranged marriages and all sorts of things. And I mean, how hard is it for a 17-year-old to get away with things in our day and age? I mean, they're considered adults.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting as well, because you don't necessarily, like, even if she was 17, it wouldn't necessarily be classed as YA. It would be more pushed into YA, but there's adult novels with
It'd be pushed into YA because of her other stories, because of her other novels. It'd be pushed into YA.
Well, she does a mixture of middle grade, YA, and adult. So the Shades of Magic ones are adult novels, even though they're younger. Like Delilah Bard is like 16 or 17.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah. But it's
adult with YA appeal, like upper YA appeal.
Yeah. Which this would be.
Which is what this would be, exactly. It would fall into new adult if that category was used by sort of bookshops.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm just going to shift my snack over. Sorry, I had to. But yeah, look, as I said, like, I don't hate Addie.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to hear of a book I hate, it's The Ancient Future by Tracy Harding, and it's not actually The Ancient Future that I hate. It's the third one in the series. I can never remember the name of it, and I threw that book across. I threw that book onto the wall because I hated that book so much.
I got so angry at the last book in the what's the book called? In the Hunger Games series. I got so angry
when
at the ending. Yeah, I got so angry that I was like, right, I'm never reading this series again.
I loved that ending. I hated that it happened, but I love what she did. I think it was perfect.
But I still haven't forgotten it, and the longer it's been since it, the more I respect the author for doing that. I still don't want to reread it, but my resolve is slowly getting lower and lower for never rereading. But I was so mad initially, and it was like, it wasn't like I hated the book. I just was really, really mad. But it was good because what she did there actually made
because you loved her. Because you loved Prue.
It made a much more impactful point than if you hadn't done that. Because killing that character off, like, made the point of the entire series inescapable. If she'd lived to the end, it wouldn't have had the same impact. Like, it would have been like, oh, sort of like happy.
No, and it's what had to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, this bloody thing. Yeah, and that's it. You know, you don't. It's like the Ancient Future series.
Yeah.
I just looked it up. It's called Masters of Reality, which is the third one. And the reason I hate that book is because of the last chapter, effectively the end. Because what happens at the end to me is such a cop out. And it's not a cop out. It's not a cop out as in, oh, the author just went, oh, I need to end it, so I'm going to end it here. It's a cop out from the characters. The characters spend 3 big books, like they're 600, 700 page long books. You know, they're old school fantasy novels. Building up how much that they believe in this thing and they believe that and they think that this is what should happen. And then in like the last chapter, they just up and abandon everything that they've believed in up until that point. And we're talking hundreds of years of these characters being alive.
What the fuck?
Oh, it's just I almost want to reread it again just so I have that feeling of throwing it across the room again. Because you're reading like each book is at least 600 pages. And fine print, like I'm talking that tiny thin paper with the fine print that you used to get in the 80s and 90s when it comes to a fantasy book. And so you get through 3 of these books and have that ending. And you're just like, no.
No.
Do not do this to me. Yes. But yeah. So and sort of to me, yeah, well, as I was saying, like Addie, I think because I've been thinking about it a bit, like which tells you it's a good book in its own way, because I am trying to figure out why I responded to it the way I did. And I think a good portion of why I responded to it in the way I did is that feeling that she is too young for her age.
Yeah.
And not just as in she lived for nearly 100 years or 200 years.
No, as in
not
like
not that lack of growth. It's just she's too young to be 23.
The mental age is younger than the character age before she stopped aging.
Yes.
The maturity level is younger than you want from a 23-year-old.
Particularly 23-year-old in the era that she's born in.
1690 something, yeah.
Yeah, she should be. She should be. Well, let's face it. In those days, they were illiterate.
Yeah.
Their dad was their only source of income. So the way they were raised was literally, you have to get married and make a decent marriage so that you could keep your parents alive when they can no longer work.
Yeah.
And they let her go to 23 before they arrange a marriage for her? No.
Yeah.
They wouldn't reach 16 without an arranged marriage. 17 maybe.
I think, like, I have a strong feeling that there was about 3 attempts at arranging a marriage before the one that was finally successful, but something happened to the groom every time.
Well, see, but something happened to the groom because she knew about it and she was doing her magic.
Yeah.
But see, that's the problem I have, is that she could have just literally rocked up at home one day and they could have said, oh, we just married you to Joe down the road. Because she didn't physically have to be at the church to be married to someone.
Yeah.
They did not need her consent.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess that's the sort of thing where if you put that in 2020, you're going to knock a bunch of the younger readers who aren't history buffs out by going like, what the fuck? They just married her to this thing, when you want the readers to then like the
I would feel more sympathetic. I would feel if 17, she gets home and she gets told she's been married to so and so, she now has to pack her things and move over to his house, and he's a 40-something widower, I'd be like, honey, go run away. Run now, you know.
The problem is, if you do that, you automatically dislike the parents, and they wanted you to like the parents so that when they forgot her, it was more of an impact.
but there's a way to do it sympathetically too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a weird balance to strike, and you can see why she's made the decisions to do with the way that it's done.
I certainly can.
Go. Yeah.
But at the same time, it just frustrates me because I'm just like, she would never have gotten to 23 being unmarried. I'm sorry. I just can't.
It's
unless she was like, unless she was a cripple or something, and there was something seriously wrong with her, she wouldn't have got to that age.
It's a bit crazy.
But that's why you do the arranged marriage with someone that doesn't actually know her, and they don't even have to see her in church before it happens, because it's all about dowry. That's what it's all about in those days.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to think if there's any other categories that I can rank books by. So I've got would read again, enjoyed reading as two separate things. Would read more from series, would read more from author.
I reckon that's a good mix.
Yeah. I've made a different symbol for each one, and now I'm marking each with, because some of them get some and not others. And some of them, there's one of them that gets none.
Not that sleeper, this sleeper.
I don't actually know if I would read Altered Carbon again now, knowing how the series goes.
I want to read Woken Furies, because in my head, Woken Furies did redeem a lot of Broken Angels.
Yeah,
I think Broken Angels suffers from a very big second book syndrome issue, where the second book, the author's not always given the amount of time that they would need to make it perfect.
Yeah.
And look, Broken Angels had its moments where if you're going, well, if they had done this instead of this, it would have been great.
Right.
Establishing a motive for him being there right at the start rather than it just being thrown in at the end would have been fantastic. But I think from memory, Woken Furies does redeem itself a little bit for the series. But I'm also a bit scared to reread it and be disappointed. Because I really did love that series when I was, in the early 2000s when they first came out. So, I don't know.
I've added a fifth one, which is have already started reading more from author or series. Already. But yeah, other than that, I don't know if I've got anything else. We sort of went sidetracked from After Dark back to Addie.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, I think people have gotten used to that now.
Yes. And the funny thing is I don't actually hate the book. I'm just very ambivalent towards it in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it just bits of it frustrate me. And I'm sure if I get around to rereading it, I might change my mind. Like as I said, I used to hate Frodo with a passion. Now I understand his character. I still don't like him, but I understand what Tolkien was doing with him. When Sam's still always my favorite. Sam, Merry, and Pippin. But, and I think that's the point, is books don't necessarily have to be first impressions. But I don't know. There's just some bits of Addie that I just get so frustrated with. I'm just like, nah, I just can't. Look, I understand why she didn't make her 17, but at the same time, it would have made more sense, particularly with some of the stuff that she does and some of the action she makes.
Yeah. Trying to think if I've read any more Neil Gaiman since.
Sorry?
Trying to think if I've read any more Neil Gaiman. I think I have.
I haven't.
Yeah.
I've tried to read American Gods and I just can't.
I started that one and didn't enjoy it, but I did enjoy reading Coraline when I read that. I can't remember if I read it before or after. I'll give it one anyway because
I keep meaning to read Coraline. That is actually on my list of ones I want to eventually read.
read more from and now giving them all the little symbols, and we'll see which one has the most symbols. It's hard though because I can only give the series one to ones that aren't standalones. And a lot of them are standalones. I think the only one that I didn't enjoy reading was Broken Angels. Oh, yeah, you're frozen again.
Can you double check? Can you go double check on it, please? Yeah, my whole Wi-Fi just crapped it, including my baby monitor. So just give me a moment whilst I try to bring the baby monitor back up.
Yeah, no worries.
There we go. Well, yeah, we have definitely got a sleeper that's awoken.
I think if I go by how many symbols everything gets, Going Postal is at the top. Let me just see. Oh, I think. Oh, you're back. I think Going Postal is at the top, just because I have read more already from Terry Pratchett, and I've read more from that series already, which How to Lose the Time War. I'm not sure if it's a series, and I haven't read anything else from those authors yet. Oh, most things get at least. Let's see. Would read more from series, yes. Although Mistborn might be up there, same level as Good Omens. Would read more from author, yes. And fine. Read more from series, yes. Sounds like we might need to finish up soon.
Yeah. We're just having the Wi-Fi's been a bit crappy. We've got a lot of devices on it at the moment, so. And my laptop doesn't actually have an Ethernet connection.
Oof.
So I can't exactly plug it in. That is actually one downside to a Surface Book, guys. As much as I love it, it does not have an Ethernet connection, so I cannot plug it into wired internet. How weird is that? I don't think it does. No, that's the monitor. That's the power. And anyway. I've got two USBs, and I got an SD connection, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's somewhere I could plug it. I'm sure there's somewhere I could plug it into a USB port and get it powered internet. I'm sure there's something out there that would adapt it, but
yeah, there's probably something. Alright, I reckon we should wrap up soon, just so I can go pick up my car.
Yeah, and I've got to go and change nappies and feed someone in a minute.
Yes. Now, the only one that doesn't get the only one that doesn't get any of the symbols allocated is Broken Angels, because I would not read again. I did not enjoy reading it. I wouldn't read. Well, I would force myself to read Woken Furies, but I would consider that I would read more from the series for Altered Carbon. But I'm not going to get if it was just Broken Angels, if that was the first book, I would not want to keep reading the series.
To these messages.
And I haven't read anything else since Broken Furies from that author, so because it's in the same series, I'm not giving it any.
And see, the thing is, I remember his Still Remains being brilliant. So, but now I'm too frightened to go and reread it because I'm worried that I'm going to reread it and be disappointed again.
Yeah, interesting. Because I remember at the time of reading Altered Carbon, I would have given it We'll Read More from the author. After reading Broken Angels, I'm not so sure. Anyway, the ones with the most, the only ones that have got all 5 is Going Postal, Mistborn, and Hogfather, and I think Stardust. Oh no, Stardust doesn't get all because it's not a series. Stardust does get Would Read More from the author, though I haven't added that one on yet. And then from not counting the standalone thing, we've got Addie LaRue has got 4 because it's a standalone, so that would be full marks if it was a standalone. And Time War is up top, but it doesn't have as many because I haven't read anything else from the authors yet. Schlock Mercenary has also got full except that. Wait. Oh, it's got full except for the have already read more. It hasn't got that one yet.
I definitely think Schlock lost a lot for me being screen. I think it needed to be like a comic, like a proper book, which is funny considering he started it as a webcomic.
Yeah.
I think it's just the way I read comics.
If you're reading webcomics, you enjoy reading webcomics and you're used to reading webcomics.
Well, I started reading a webcomic, but for me, a comic is a book. I like the format of a book, and I think that's where it lost it for me. And that's not a reflection on how good it was. It was just personal taste. So, yeah.
Anyway, I just realized Big Bro likes to go to sleep earlier than I do, and he's got to come.
And I've actually got to go and deal with a dirty nappy and some snack time. So,
yeah. Well, that's our ranking of After Dark and our analysis of the entire year so far. Next month, do you want to reveal what we're doing? We actually decided beforehand for once.
Well, I've actually been doing some Easter eggs for people because it's going to be June.
It's going to be in June.
Yes. And the sleeper has awoken.
It's going to be in June.
Oh, dear.
Oh, God. Welcome to the June edition of Knitting Bookclub. Today we're doing June.
Oh, jeez. And it will be the date, if my calendar wants to come up.
Third Friday. We fucked up this time. We thought it was the third Friday when it was the second. Well, I thought it was the Friday when it was the second, and then we thought we would missed it. And then we're like, actually, no, we were on time. We're on the right week.
Yeah. So it would actually be the 18th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah. See, when I got a message last Saturday saying, "Oh, we missed Knitting Book Club," and I went, "Oh, great!" And then no, oops, sorry, no, it's only the second. It was only the second Friday.
Technically, I didn't say we missed it. Technically, I said, were we supposed to do book club yesterday? And we were both like, yes, we were. Well, and then I looked at the actual calendar and I was like, oh, wait, no, it's fine. We were meant to do it next week anyway. Because I hadn't bothered following it up. I hadn't even started reading the book because I knew I was going to be in Sydney and probably couldn't stream anyway.
I had a 1 week old last Friday. I really didn't give a shit.
Now you have a 2-week-old, and
Yes.
Kevin is slightly
And
higher.
she's hungry.
Yeah. You better go deal with Bubs.
No worries. Okay, guys, thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the lovely new setup.
Mine is
Tell you
also
what, it's pretty good, isn't it?
purely for the fact I'm in a different house.
Yeah. No, I'm really impressed with this green screen. It's actually really good.
It's come out well.
Yeah.
You're going to be giving like Becca and Hannah a run for their money.
I just think it's very responsive. It is very responsive.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. But I do get a second
next
life, I
time?
think.
You're going to have to wear green next time, so you're just a floating head.
Oh
That
dear.
I wore a green shirt and turned it into pizza.
Yeah. I actually have a khaki coloured shirt. I wonder if that'll work. Anyway, guys, we've got to go. I do have to go attend to tiny humans that can't fend themselves. So thank you all for those that joined us during stream. And if you're watching this, like and subscribe both Charlotte's channel and mine, so you get future knitting book club notifications.
Yes. And the next one will be on my channel. It is June. And it will be on the 18th. On June 18th. June.
Good old Frank Herbert.
Yep.
Okay. Bye, guys.